before we start the third section about life in the spirit, about your life in the spirit world, yeah, like just to ask you to share with us how mediumship, so which is communication with spirits or person who have passed, how mediumship has helped you, if it has in any way, to remember what your soul is really, who you really are.
I'm not mediumistic myself. I don't consider myself mediumistic, so I usually have to have someone else be talking to a spirit or letting the spirit come through them and me chatting with the spirit, just like me chatting with you kind of thing. There's been lots of incidents, I guess, that have helped me understand a little bit more about me and my existence too, like some early experiences not long after I found out about my identity. I was a medium I was talking to, actually did it via Skype. I think she was in England and I was sitting in Australia, and we did a chat with a spirit to come along. There was someone that actually killed in the 1st century, a lady, and I had to stop and go and get a bucket because I thought I was going to vomit. I was just freaked out by it a bit, and sad, and just remembering the things I'd done. And there's someone there to talk about it as well. And I got to talk to her a bit, and she was not in a very good state still. So I got to help her, which is good, or got to help her get some help as well in the spirit world, which God always provides for them. That one, I wasn't expecting that experience to happen physically as well, when wanting to vomit. And other ones who I talked to, I think just after breakfast one day, as a medium we were staying, and she says, "Oh, someone wants to talk to you." I go, "Yeah, no worries." So we're just having a chat, and there was a guy that was just in chains on the ground and couldn't get out of his chains. He just couldn't move. And I was talking to him for a fair while, and ended up talking to him about why he was where he was and why it's happening. And it was just his own condition that put him there. It wasn't anything to do with no one's put him there. It's actually just a condition inside of himself that's created that. And as we talked about and got onto some of the issues, he started crying, and he noticed that the chains were falling off, and he just started having some faith in the process of dealing with it stuff. And when we finished doing that mediumship, I asked the medium, because I was telling him about my experience in the first when I died and stuff like that, and going through the spirit world. This is some of the things I had to do. And I was asking her, why didn't he question me? Because, like, I'm a person on Earth, and I said I died, but I'm on Earth. So, like, why didn't you question, like, you're full of shit, mate? Like, how do you know? You're not in the spirit world. And she said, because you can feel your soul. He knows you're telling the truth from your soul. You can feel that, and he doesn't question it because you can feel it.
Who told you that?
Oh, medium. That's what the medium was saying.
Medium was saying that.
Yeah, because she could feel what's going on. Lots of times trying to help spirits as well too helps me remember why I came back as well, like the love for people, wanting to help them learn about the truths. So it helps with understanding our identity a bit too, and being able to have a lot of compassion for them, I guess too, knowing, because when you've experienced something yourself, you have a lot of compassion for someone else who's having that experience as well. So it helps. It helps to. I think that the world would be helped by understanding a bit more about mediumship, and there is as a world going on simultaneously with this one that we visit every night in our dream, because that's where we go to too, in spirit bodies. But it helps with lots of things. It helps understand where the next part of life goes to as well, because I was always afraid of that. But, there's been lots of incidents. So even with girlfriends, I've attracted lots of girlfriends that seem to be mediumistic, so I've got to do lots of chatting and talking and stuff like that to spirits, and even some that have been learning about divine truth. A lady that was at that group when I first went to with Apostle John, she was there, and used to give her a lift sometimes. She had brain cancer, and she passed away eventually, but was sitting there having lunch with my girlfriend out at a restaurant somewhere one day, and she said, "Oh, someone's here to talk to you," and And I said, who is it? And she said, the person said, you got to guess who it is. She said, you got to feel who it is. And so I felt who it was, and it was a lady that I knew that died of brain cancer. I was just asking her, how's everything going and stuff like that, after learning a lot about just stuff from Jesus now on earth. And she said it's tough where she is, because there's lots of things that she wouldn't have known about herself that have happened and caused the location of where she is in the spirit world. It says, because of knowing these things, it helps me a lot. So then knew she was able to get help, and said she's been helped along. She's got a lot of stuff to deal with, but at least she's got help now. And so just want to thank him so much for telling her the truths about stuff, because it's helped her already a lot with her progression. So it's good to hear it from someone that actually has heard it on earth and then died and then gone and applied it in the spirit world, knowing what's expected, what's going to happen, what things are, what the laws are. It's very helpful learning that from via mediumship.
You are executed as Cornelius, and then, like as you just mentioned, life doesn't stop there. And so you died and you passed into the spirit world. Do you remember how was it and what happened when you passed into the spirit world, and how was it there?
When I first passed, I didn't go into the spirit world. I hung around on earth because I was still attracted to my soulmate, which I'd met her not long before, or a couple of years or something perhaps. And so I was just wanting to hang around her. I was obviously attracted and attraction to the places. So, and but because she was associated with me, and this is what the Romans did too, which before I got executed too, and she didn't want to run with me. I couldn't remember why. We had a child too, and we would have had to run with. I remembered that what the Romans often do when they execute someone that they don't want, it may cause reprisals, may cause trouble or something afterwards. They end up, when the execution happens, there's other soldiers that look around in the crowd and look for anybody else that's grieving, or for anybody else that's angry about it, and they go and execute them too later, just on the quiet later on, because they don't want any uprisings and reprisals, and so they just watch all this stuff. That's just the way things worked. And so I knew that's what happened. So before I knew she wouldn't want to run with me and I was going to pretty much be executed or found, I said some really nasty things to her. I knew things that would hurt her, that she'd share with me in confidence, things that were really deep to her, and I just wanted her to hate me. Which is probably the second, I said there's several things that I really regretted or hated, just soul destroying. That was sort of one of them as well, because it wasn't what my heart felt towards her. I was trying to get her to hate me so she wouldn't be at execution and she wouldn't be targeted. I think she was there anyway.
Did they catch her?
Yeah, that's what happened after I passed. I was hanging around the earth plane, just wanted to be around her, and I didn't understand them, I guess, then too. Like I could see other spirits, which I thought were just people. I didn't understand that the spirits would be around people, because I was a spirit now. And there's some men that actually executed her, or killed her and my child.
So she ended up passing not long after you?
Yeah, several days.
Was she your soulmate?
Yeah.
Was she?
Yeah. And I was just so angry at people. I hated people. And so then, after there's no reason to be around her or anything around Earth, I just vacated pretty much to my location in the spirit world.
So you didn't stay around her when she passed?
Only when she passed, because then she disappeared and I didn't know where she went to. Like her soul was gone, there's dead bodies there, but like I don't want to hang around that.
What about you child?
Yeah, she passed too.
She passed too?
Yeah, I killed her, both of them, yeah. Yeah, and so that's when I ended where I was in the spirit world, which is darkness. It was darkness and cold, smelly, and I couldn't see from, you can't see anything from anywhere in touch, reach.
But you did a lovely act that led to your death, an act of bravery that we could expect maybe you would pass in
the kingdom of God.
No, in a kind of a bit better place, because
it helped, of course. There's a whole lot of build up before that, and all the people I'd killed, raped, murdered, displaced, everything. They're stolen from, everything. There's a lot of that happened as well too. So, and there's even still the spirits now, still like 2,000 years after, they're still angry at me for those things I did back then too. I was going to say, before I'm on those medium sessions, I was sitting there waiting to do one. There's 2 mediums there, 3 mediums and me. And they were just all looking at me and said, what's going on? And they said, can you see that man in front of you? And I go, no. And he said, he's trying to scratch your face off. And I said, why? And he said, he knows who you are, but he doesn't understand why you have a different face. Like, he knows who I am from the first century, he knows my soul. But he doesn't understand why I have a different face, because of the reincarnation process, obviously. Yeah, and I found out he didn't want to talk, he's just in a rage. And he was yelling in my face, trying to scratch it and saying how I killed his wife and his children.
In a campaign or something?
Just because I wanted to, yeah. Just what it was like back then. He probably raped his wife as well. It's just what things out of anger and what they turned you into be. The things you did. So so that's where I ended up in the spirit world.
So you end up in this,
just a dark place. There was nothing around, and that's because of the things I'd done. Of course, like I created that location, and also I didn't want to be around anybody. I just hated everybody. So I was in a location where there was nobody really. Yeah.
So,
and I was there for like, the first 50 years, I think it was, before I saw anybody come along to be near me, because I was just full of rage. And eventually somebody would come into my space and I'd just be raging at them, and they'd disappear pretty quickly. And then that would happen quite often for like years and years and years. People would come near me and there's rage and they'd go again. And then Jesus feels it was him. I don't know who it was. It was somebody I felt enough trust with. I didn't know if it was my guide or guardian that had been around in my life, where I felt acquainted to. Would come and try and talk to me, and they get a few words in and talk about a few things, but then I'd go into a rage and then they'd just leave. And they eventually tell me about why they were leaving though too. Like they're not here to harm me, and I could feel that, but they won't stand for my rage. They don't deserve it, and so that's what they leave for. They just don't have to be around it. And so I understood why they were leaving then too, and it was due to me and what my feelings. And so the conversation slowly over the years got a little bit longer and a little bit longer, until they made some logical sense to me too. And I was just angry about everything about life, about work, earth, and hated everything. Couldn't die. I just wanted to die and couldn't die. Oblivion just seems to not happen. I just wanted to disappear into nothing, but it wouldn't happen. And they said some pretty good logic to me once about how, because I was talking about my soulmate and stuff and how I missed her. And they suggested to me that, because I thought she just got into oblivion too. And so I didn't have any belief about death or afterlife really, and didn't, after Jesus told me about this kingdom of heaven, I just thought that's just a load of rubbish now. It wasn't where I was, so I lost a lot of faith in what I'd been told. And then those saying how if she's died, or if you died, and now you're in this new place called the spirit world, and she died, she must be somewhere too. I thought, yeah, logical. And they said, would you like to meet her again? And I thought, yeah. And so they were telling me the way I have to progress out of the condition I was in, the place I was in, to be able to meet her. And so that gave me a lot of inspiration to want to move on from there.
Yeah, motivation, huge motivation.
That took at least 80 years to get moving. Yeah.
So how did it happen from that moment when you heard she was there, and to move on to the...
I can't remember.
You can remember that part.
Point, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose the spirit world, you know very very much the spirit world. I don't know how much you remember, but it's very unknown here on Earth. Or
Very what, sorry?
Not very well known on
Oh,
Earth. Most people, or they believe there is something like according to Christian faith, or they believe there is nothing.
They've had there's been a lot of misrepresentation by often religions from forever about the spirit world, about using a lot of negative references about the spirit world, about dark people have been in bad conditions on Earth, and they see them and stuff like that, and they talk about that's what you're going to. You don't dabble in that stuff. They just try to scare people, I think, out of discovering the truth about the spirit world.
Have you seen a devil?
There is no devil, no.
You have never seen a devil?
No, there's never a devil. Like,
and have you seen the flame when people go burn for eternity?
No, in those dark places in the spirit world, there is no dark, there is no flames, there's no light, there's no heat, there's just cold, it's bitter, disgusting, barren. Like for me, when I started, when people started talking to me, as I started emotionally feeling some things, I got to see more. Like I started seeing, like instead of not being able to feel anything close to me, I started to see like a bit of light was coming around me. I was able to see like at least a metre or so, and then as I'd go through more stuff, I'd see a bit further. Then I started to see my location. I was in like just a barren place that had dead trees in it, really. And I got to see a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. Yeah, until eventually I would have emotionally worked my way out of that location, got into a better location.
Do you believe there are other places that are like the flame of hell, like this?
No.
Described by the...
There'd only be like, if there was even
church.
flames in those places, there'd be barriers to stop person getting out of that place. Because they need to be confined to that place due to their condition. Yeah. And the flames would have no warmth, as in no niceness to them. They'd just be a visual barrier just about, because people are afraid of flames from their physical body being burned. Yeah. It doesn't happen with your spirit body, so like it'd be pointless anyway.
There is a lot of false representation about...
Oh, there's tons, which is unfortunate because it stops people investigating generally, and churches, religions often prophesize against like investigating those things too, because it's like the devil's work and things like that. And if you start investigating, then you become like a devil lover kind of thing, I suppose. I don't know what they call it, but yeah. Yeah, and it seems... the church would punish you for that too.
Exactly, yeah.
Just like all the witch burnings that were happening back and whenever.
Yeah. And it seems that you were not stuck in your place, or you moved on. You don't remember yet, but you move on. And you move on so much that at some point you were becoming pure in God's love and at one with God from the lower hell. So anybody can move on.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? With God's way, it's like God loves all of His children and wants all of them to have happiness. It says created all the laws designed for that. If you follow the laws, that's what you end up with. If you don't, then you end up with some things that make you realise you've done something in the wrong way. That you consider, maybe there's another option here.
Yeah. Do you remember some? Of course, you move a lot in 2,000 years and you change a lot. But do you remember some moment, some transition? It's from one space to another, or when you become in soul in at-onement, or in
not
soul?
Yet.
Not yet.
It feels like my memories are limited to what I want to remember now.
Okay.
Yeah. As in, well, that's the truth of it, isn't it? Like any memory is limited to what you want to remember.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And do you have an idea why you don't want to remember that? Because it's kind of beautiful memory. It's not like terrible memory.
I wish I remembered those ones first, because that would give me some inspiration to remember the darker ones, I think. But it's also triggering too, the amount of love that's in those places. And the feeling here on earth is the opposite of that in some way. So, and it's a lot of grief, I guess, involved in it. Like being in a place that's just so full of love into a place that's so dark and not really, because it's an experiment. It feels like you don't really know, not how to get out of it, but just how to approach it in some ways. Yeah. There's just a lot of grief, a lot of loving people, loving times, happiness. Imagine being like having a really awesome life and stuff like that. Everything's just beautiful around you. The people are beautiful, the locations are beautiful, and then getting all of a sudden getting chucked into something that's just disgusting, horrible, violence everywhere, and not really knowing how do you get back to that other location in some way. Like, just a bit traumatic, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah.
But it's, yeah. So it's got it's a bit of a double whammy, isn't it? Like, if you remember one thing, it's going to be remembering all the dark stuff. If you remember another thing, it's remembering all the good stuff. And like, all of them, one's got grief, one's got terror. They're the things people might avoid the most, really.
Terror.
Yeah. Oh, grief and terror.
Yeah, grief and terror. Yeah.
Mm.
Do you remember some friends or in the spirit world along the way?
Not really, no.
No.
Because I don't remember beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and because I think I said that just before, but I don't know if I did say it or didn't say it, but I'm limited to only remembering what I want to remember.
Yes.
Yeah, and what I emotionally experience, I should say, because the emotional experience brings up the memory. So
your memory of your soulmate for the moment is a memory from your soulmate in the flesh in the first century, not from your soulmate in the spirit world. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay.
I also remember feelings about her though too, feelings I had for her. Yeah, not just a physical presence or anything, but the love for her. Yeah.
Okay. Do you miss her? Do you feel like?
I'm a bit blocked to that too, because that's that's probably one of the biggest griefs of all. Is that and the one with God, but the grief of soulmates just feels huge. I used to feel, I think I felt her around when I was probably as a kid, so I used to not feel as scared. I was always scared, but then I feel when she incarnated, she no longer can project love to me from our location. Now she's down on earth here as well, she's having this experience. And so then it felt like she had disappeared again. Like these lost feelings just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. And just be good one day when I can get into them properly. They just seem to happen in little teeny weeny bits, and it doesn't feel ever satisfying.
Have you any idea who she might be?
No.
She's obviously reincarnated.
No. It's like anybody, I think. With your own soulmate, you have to know who you are. If they're the other half of you and you don't recognise who you are, from God's perspective, then how would you recognise them? So it's the kind of the key, isn't it, to get to know yourself.
You know your passions a bit.
Partly, yeah.
Partly, yeah. But you don't express your fullness of your characters and your soul, indeed.
Oh, I know.
Very little.
I know what I'd like to do in some way, but I don't know how it's going to be done. It's like having a feeling of something is possible, but having no clue about how it's going to be done, how it's going to be possible. No
faith that it's going to be possible.
There's a little bit of faith there, but just how to execute it, how it could be even real, or it's hard to fathom with this mind anyway. It has to come from my soul, because my soul knows how to do it. Easy. Like even with building, like I often have frustrating moments where knowing that, something you think about in your mind, or you're creating, you have a feeling in your soul, you create a picture in your mind, then you've physically got to go out and do it. And then after that whole experience, you go, I knew it's going to look exactly like that, like in a split second, but it take me all this process to get there. But why is it so like this? It takes too long. Yeah, so it's a bit of frustration at that, not being able to create as you could create. Yeah. In the spirit world, that's how you can create. So.
You remember a little bit of that?
Yeah, instantaneous, and it becomes a bit frustrating not being able to do things like you could do them. Yeah.
For the sake of our audience, there is a lot about the spirit world if you go and do a search on the Divine Truth channel on YouTube, and so about how the spirit world works. So we are not going to go on that, but you can find out a lot if you want. Divine Truth teaching, and I think it's important for everybody. They talk that you can grow from when you pass in the spirit world, you can, whatever the condition you are, you go into hell, a dark place, whatever, you can grow and you can receive God's love if you want to, and receive enough God's love that your soul is transformed into divine soul or celestial soul. So it's not a human soul anymore, and it goes in a place of complete freedom and no more fear. It's called at-onement with God, and so that's something that you believe in, you experience. Really, anybody can. I don't know if you have any memory, but anybody can.
Anybody can. Like if I can, then anybody can. Like, I probably did the worst things you could think to do to a person. Lots of people, not just one, but like it's attributed to lots of deaths. It's even ones like there's other mediums that incidents where, like there's not just there's lots of women that have come back that I've harmed and still in a bad condition in the spirit world because they want to stay angry. And they get from group up with other women that want to stay angry because it feels powerful for them. And I've had to talk to them about, like, it's been 2,000 years since that's happened. That's a long time. And so it's like there's no reason for them to be in such pain for so long. Like, I've caused the pain. It was my fault. It was my doing. There's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with them. Nothing due to them for what happened. And they don't need to be where they are. And I've had to try and at least be able to talk to them that way to help them out to get out of that location, because they don't need to be there. They've gone through enough pain. But it's their feelings inside themselves that cause them to still be there, their anger and vengeance feelings.
So are you able to help them?
Yeah. All the time. Sometimes there's like millions of them in big groups and stuff. Sometimes there's ones that wanted to talk to me, and there'd be a group, some of the spokesperson was still to stand up, and she wouldn't let. I was wondering why the meeting was taking so long, because they're trying to sort themselves out. The ones that wanted to speak to me were in a rage. And the ones that wanted to talk to me were not in a rage. They were in a rage. They were angry at men for what they'd done, but she could feel that I wasn't wanting to harm them or do anything bad. And so she ended up speaking, telling the other ladies to stay back away for a moment. I want to speak to him, so she spoke to me. Yeah, which is really interesting when speaking to all those ladies about the harm that was done and how their anger towards they're wanting to hold on to their vengeance and anger towards men is causing a lot of harm. That's what's keeping them in that bad location of no happiness, there's misery. And so their self-feelings about their vengeance and anger rather than dealing with those feelings is keeping them there. And so it's also not letting them have an experience with a lovely male, a male that's said, I don't know they didn't know if they could feel it, but there's a lot of males around them right now that actually want to have a relationship with them of love, their soulmates, and they didn't know much about that, and they're still angry about it, but making them question of their feelings and stuff. Yeah, there was tons of these guys just hanging around, all the soulmates are there, and I'm just waiting for them. Yeah, they're in a better condition, of course. Yeah.
You are in a good place to help these kind of people because you have been through it, but can anybody help people that are in suffering in the dark place of the spirit world?
Yeah, you can, as long as you know the truth. You can only help with the truth. If you tell them, like I just said something once that wasn't true, like there's a spirit that had died from accidental overdose kind of thing. He's an actor, and he just come to my girlfriend one time and we started chatting to him, and he was embarrassed about what had happened, didn't want to die and stuff like that. Everything was going fine in his career and stuff, and I think I suggested to him to talk to his guide, and he should be able to help him through things, and then spoke to him quite a while after. So I realised, his guides probably might be in only just a slightly better condition than him, because they usually are just in a better condition, but who knows how much. I thought, no, because it might not help him much at all. And he'd come back and talk to him and said it didn't really help much. It was like weeks after. And it's introduced him to some celestial spirits that would be able to help him a lot more. Yeah. Yeah, and that, I realised, so you can, like, the truth is going to help the most. Yeah. And the celestial spirits that come along have often had the experience of the person, like God assigns the most perfect person for that person to help them. So the guide that's come along, or several guides can often come along to the person, they've had the same experience as this other person emotionally. And so when they're talking with each other, you can feel a resonation of, they've had the same experience of kinship. The sort of understanding of no judgment about it and stuff like that, which none of those spirits would have because they've got so much love anyway. And so they often can help the spirit the most. Because it's not like going to a psychologist that's telling you about something and they've never had that experience. These spirits come to the person who've had that experience and know how to work through that experience and come out the other side of it.
So how do you call them, the celestial spirits?
Well, it has to be, when I talk, it's a feeling. It's like you want to be able to feel the person when you talk to them.
It's a feeling you send for help for somebody.
I like to get to know
can you come please for help?
Yeah, firstly I like to get to know the spirit first, as I'm just interested in them. The feeling of, there's already a feeling of interest in the person, of love for them, and I just find out a little bit about where they are and a bit about their life and stuff, and start to feel emotionally of what's going on for them, and then ask if they're interested in some help and stuff like that, and
the help will come.
If their heart wants the help will come. And so not to be scared. These spirits are quite bright, and the brightness is a reflection of their love that's in them, and you'll feel that. Just notice the feeling coming from them. Don't be too scared about the look or anything, and you'll notice how beautiful they are too, which is another indication of love in the spirit world. It doesn't work here on earth. It can be all mimicked and false.
That would be good to see the real condition of people on earth.
Yeah, if you become a bit more open emotionally. And just talk to these beautiful people, the guides that come along, and they'll be able to help them the most. More than I can do, because they can feel on the whole lot better. They've had the experience that person's had, so like spirits had. Even I was reading something from one of the mediums that years ago, talking about that guy in chains. His name is Albert, actually, I remember his name. And she did a channeling from that same spirit years. I was just reading it, I didn't even know she'd done it. And she just wanted to thank me so much for, he's just in a heaps better condition. And he's so overjoyed of being able to talk and being able to be helped. And I was burst in tears when I read that. I wasn't expecting it at all, but it just proves the point that, like, wanting to help someone or love them can benefit them. You just don't realise how many people you can benefit just from an act of love.